I'm Bogdan, head of product at Nexera ID. And today we'll speak about how we use verifiable credentials for a compliant and secure Web3 at Nexera ID. So we work in the Web3 space for a long time ago, but recently we've seen two important trends happening. First are regulations that are coming in the crypto space and regulations that are coming closer and closer to the Web3 space. First, of course, I'm thinking about MiCA, who looks at regulating custodian companies mostly, but even Web3 companies that have a centralization factor as well, and they impose to these companies to have a stricter control of their users. But also recently we see like worse news than that, which things like the US Senate working on a bill that is looking at regulating DeFi like a bank. We hope that won't happen immediately, but this type of things are leading to the second trend that we're seeing in that Web3 companies are scared by this type of news, and they don't know if they are concerned by this type of regulations. If they're not concerned, should they self-regulate? And if they decide and if they need to regulate, what exactly should they do? And what are the types of controls they need to impose to their users? And that's where us at Nexera ID, we want to step in, and our mission is to simplify the compliance journey of Web3 companies and help them to seamlessly embed composable compliance workflows that are adapted to their current status as a company, but also that can evolve with the size of their company and with the evolution of the regulatory landscape in general. And how are we doing this? Like, our approach is to combine traditional KYC, which is approved by regulators, with the best practices of Web3. And that is why we're using self-sovereign identities at the basis of our product. And what we're offering are off-the-shelf solutions that automate identity verification, risk assessment, and reporting. And what we try to achieve by combining Web3, like traditional KYC methods and Web3 approaches in what concerns the identity verification process, at least, is to have the same level of UX and the same level of features that a standard identity verification solution would have, but in addition to add features that are important for Web3 companies and their users, things like reusability of the verified identity and preservation of privacy as much as possible. This slide is made to kind of highlight at a very high level how our solution works. Like, a company that would embed our solution will embed a widget, the Nexera identity widget, that would allow their existing Web3 users who already have a private key and a wallet to start verifying their identity with a normal identity provider, but at the end they get issued verifiable credentials, they get issued a self-sovereign identity, and the company then can require the user to share that identity with them, and they will be able to verify the user's identity through a set of rules and scenarios that encode the various compliance frameworks that they are interested in adopting and following, so that at the end they are able to tell if their users should be approved or not to interact with their applications. I don't want to make this talk very technical, but it's still worth going a bit in details into how these two components work, so you get a bit of a better idea. So by embedding the Nexera identity widget, what the company and their users will get is a very easy access, like in a very abstracted access to the three elements of the verifiable credential stacks. So the user, through his existing wallet, he will be able to get under the hood through the widget an identity wallet in which he will be able to store the verifiable credentials that get issued to him without him needing to bring in an external identity wallet and be aware of it. And this actually improves the UX a lot, and you will see that at the end in the demo. Also, in this widget, we will issue on behalf of the KYC provider, we will be issuing verifiable credentials, and we will also conduct the verification process on behalf of the app. And the rest of the verification process will go through the rules, which are managed by our rules engine. And speaking about that, about the rules engine part, I want to emphasize that we employ different verification approaches depending on the use cases we're dealing with. So we love anonymous verifications that are done through ZK proofs, and we employ them for use cases like basic integrations of internal compliance enforcement and basic self-regulations that some companies want to do in order to gate their apps or dApps. And in this case, the various rules are written using the Polygon ID ZK query language. But we're dealing with many use cases that are related to regulatory compliance. And unfortunately, nowadays, regulations require companies to get hold of their users' data so that they are able to bring it up and show it at a later stage if this is required. And in order to achieve this, for this type of regulatory compliance use cases and for companies that are falling into this type of use case, we are actually dealing with a selective disclosures of the VCs that are directly sent to the application. And in order to run the various compliance scenarios on top of those VCs, we've developed an equivalent rules engine that's developed in-house, and it's based on Open Policy Agent. And this is what the companies will use to write their compliance scenarios in this second use case. And yes, and with this, I would like to show you how it looks like to work with an Nexera ID, first from a company standpoint, and then from an end user standpoint. So from a company point of view, working with Nexera ID is very easy. Like almost the whole flow is done through interacting with our user interface with the Nexera identity dashboard, which would allow companies to set up the solution first by choosing the various compliance rules and scenarios they need, or building custom ones with the user interface if they need so. And the second part of the setup stage will be configuring the identity widget that they will embed in their application. And this, there they will have the option to customize it to their branding, to decide how they want to access the rule execution results and other configuration of this type. And then in the live mode, Nexera ID will notify the applications with the rules execution result, which will allow companies to approve or ban their users. And also in live mode, Nexera ID dashboard can be used for case management and reporting, which are features that are very important for the regulatory compliance use cases. Then moving to the end user interaction with the Nexera ID, here I'll be doing a live demo, and I will show you what it looks like for a user to interact with two different applications that integrate Nexera ID. And I'll try to focus on the reusability of the verified identity through the reusage of verifiable credentials between the two applications. So I'll move to the demo. I hope internet is good and this will work. If not, I'll fall back on a video. But yes, these are two apps that we've created ourselves, and we've integrated the Nexera identity widget in both of them. And each of them checks the identity of the users based on verifiable credentials with their own compliance rules. So as a user, I'm interested in interacting with this compliant DevX application. So what I'll be doing, I'll be connecting with my usual Web3 wallet. In this case, I'm connecting with MetaMask. And this application actually requires me to be KYC'd, so verified before being able to perform a swap. I'll click verify. And at this point, I start to interact with the Nexera identity widget, which is embedded in the application. I have the option to import a KYC report if I have one. In this case, as a user, it's my first time I'm interacting with a compliant DeFi application, so I'll start a new KYC process. What follows is a normal, a usual KYC. In the production mode, users are asked to scan this QR code in order to scan their passport with their phone because it has a better pass-through rate, but I'll take the developer route and upload the document from my computer so that you can see everything that's happening. So at this point, the KYC provider that we integrate will scan this passport, will extract the data, and will verify it. And afterwards, I will be required to do a liveness check, which is the case now. And again, this information is used it's matched with the passport behind the scenes. This takes a bit of time, but it should be done in a second. I hope this will go through. Yes. Yes, exactly. But it went, so the information was extracted from the passport. I have the option as a user to make adjustments in case that there is a problem. And I'm also, in this particular flow, I'm also required to upload a proof of residence, and I'll be doing that. I'll need to provide my signature, as in the next step, we will be issuing the verifiable credentials based on this verified data. So everything was done. I have the option to download my KYC certificate, which contains the verifiable credentials encrypted. This will allow me to import them back into the application at a later stage whenever I'm interacting with another application that works with Nexera ID. But in this case, I'll just finish. And I'm getting back to the first screen, which prompts me as a user to share this verifiable credentials with the application. So I'll be doing that, and the application will check my verifiable credentials with the various scenarios that are included in the rules engine. My identity was verified, and I'm now approved by the applications to interact with the app, and I'm able to perform a swap. I won't do that at this point. I'll just move to the next applications that we've built for the demo. And here I will be signing up. I'm already logged in. Like maybe I can disconnect and connect again. So I'll connect again with the same wallet. And because I'm using the same wallet and because I'm staying in the same browser, in the verification step, I will be able to reuse my KYC report. So I won't be required to go again through those 2 minutes of verifications that were quite awkward actually, but we have to get through them at least once. So I was able to select the same identity, like the report of my verified identity, and I'm sharing it with the application. The application will verify it, will check it against its own scenarios and its own rules, and it will. I was also approved by this application, and I'm able to interact with it. So basically what we showed in this demo was the identity verification flow from an end user perspective and the capacity for the user to reuse his verifiable credentials across multiple applications, and the type of user experience we are able to achieve at this point. And with that, I will conclude my presentation. I think we have a bit of time for questions. We also have a few members of the team in the room, so I guess we'll be able to respond to everything. If you want to learn more about Nexera ID, just scan the QR code and you'll get to our landing page. But we're also here, a few of us, so we can respond to all of your questions. So thank you very much.
Hello, question.
Yeah.
So do I understand correctly that when you have this widget, do you use a wallet inside of this widget?
Yes.
Is it a Polygon ID?
Yes, and it's the Polygon ID wallet that we create on the fly.
On the fly, okay.
In the widget. But we do it deterministically based on the user's existing private key, so that the user, whenever he connects to another application with the same wallet, he will generate the same wallet.
And then you show how you reuse the credential you created the first time because you are on the same browser?
Yes, but because I'm on the same browser, and we store those credentials encrypted by the user's private key in the browser under the Nexera ID domain. So basically, they can be mutualized.
But if I close the browser, I close the session, and I open again, I lose my credential.
Yes, and that's why you have the option to export them at some point, store them, and be able to import them again. And in the future, we also want to make integrations with the Polygon ID supported wallet, so that the user can basically export those credentials or issue credentials. Equivalent credentials to an external Polygon wallet as well, to make them even more portable. And we have we're thinking of other modes as well to save those credentials. But this is, I would say, the first step, and it works for the case in which the user stays in the same browser. It works quite well. If the user changes browsers, he will need to export and import the credentials. Yeah, and our SDK also has a management mode. So when the user logs into the application, in his profile, we encourage companies to create a manage your identity mode from where he can export his credentials at a later stage as well, if he doesn't want to do it immediately during the onboarding process. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering which kind of data is getting on-chain in this compliance workflow, because from what you're saying, I understand that verifiable credentials are off-chain entity. In ZK is happening off-chain. But you do keep the proofs or public commitment on chain or any traces of verification process.
Yeah, so at this point, I would say what we're doing, we're doing the both modes of verifying the identities through ZK proofs and by sharing directly verifiable credentials that are in clear, that can be checked with the rules engine. Everything is done off chain, and we let the companies themselves take the decision of approving or not the users. They can also do it async, and we let them push that decision on chain on their own contracts. So we don't, at this point, we let the companies do that decision of pushing the whitelisting and blacklisting at the contract level.
Literally, the security component is the responsibility of the company in this case, right?
Yes, and then we'll be looking at, okay, how do we bring this? How do we help companies to bring this on chain and simplify that step for them as a next step, actually, in our roadmap?
Sorry, how far from production ready is this actually? Do you have audits, and where are you at in your journey?
Yeah, so I would say we're not that far from being production ready. We have our mainnet issuer is already available, and we're working with the first companies who are integrating this solution. So I would say in the fall, we'll have the first production use cases.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, so no question?
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
I see that the passport was an example, but it gave away a lot of information to the dApp. Don't you have a way in which maybe only a piece of it, as much that the dApp requires, can go?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, in the regulatory compliance use cases, you need to reveal your information with the applications, because the application will, like regulatory bodies will require the companies to have that data in the case that they will need to conduct an audit on a particular case that happened. Unfortunately, this is necessary at this point. But what we can do is to work with selective disclosures of VCs. So the VC, the verifiable credentials that the user will share will be, and the properties that the user will share with the DApp will be only the properties that the DApp actually needs to store and verify. So if they will need only the age of the user and his residence and country of birth, only those will be shared and not the user's name, for instance. So we're doing that, and for cases in which like there's just a basic gating of the app, there we work with ZK proof, so no data is actually shared. But I mostly focused on the sharing of verifiable credentials because that's like the harder use case, I would say, and the use case we don't speak that much about because we're focusing always a lot around privacy. But unfortunately, that the usage of ZK proofs for regulatory compliance is not there yet. So we hope this will change with time. And that's why we also keep self-sovereign identities as the basis of our KYC solution, because we think at some point in the future, ZKs will work for regulatory compliance. And at that point, our solution will have this embedded.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much,
Welcome
everyone.
for this.